Encouraged Barbell with your host, Chad Ikes. Me. Guys, coming back at you for part 4 of the Wisdom of Dave Tate. This last one is probably my favorite one altogether because I love the simplicity of it and I love the idea of it, and it makes me laugh that I didn't think of it because it is so simple. So let me just get right to it. Although I don't remember exactly when I heard this one, it is just always stuck in my head really great. I was talking to Dave one time and he said, if you're doing something, anything to achieve your goal, then that thing is training. And again, I'm paraphrasing. I don't even remember the exact words. But think about it. No matter what it is, if you're doing it to get stronger, it's training. We really have a very bad habit as lifters of compartmentalizing everything, and it's the gym. The gym's where lifting the weights is when I get stronger, which in fact isn't even true, because in the gym, when you're lifting weights, you're breaking your body down. You're actually making yourself weaker. If I go in there and bench 500 pounds, and I bench for the next 25, 30 minutes, I'm not going to bench 500 pounds again. I made myself weaker in the gym. I wore myself out. Now, when I go home and I eat and I sleep and I recover, now I'm stronger. We actually make ourselves stronger during recovery after training. It's not even the gym that actually makes us stronger. But say, for instance, you go through the day and it's 9 o'clock at night and you're like, oh man, you know what? You're looking over your calories and you're like, man, I'm short like 500 calories because that was a little more intense training session today or for whatever reason. And you're like, screw it, I got to cook and eat something. So you eat those extra 500 calories. That was training. Say you have a really rough night of sleep for whatever reason and you're tired and you didn't sleep well, you got to get more sleep. You're like, okay, I think I can squeeze in a nap from this time to this time. Taking that nap was training. If you notice in the gym that you're having trouble hitting your positions because you're so tight, you're like, all right, man, I got to start stretching every other night for 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes of training. No matter what it is, it's training. If you are fond of recovery sessions like I am, then you know that they're annoying and they suck. I hate going into the gym doing 30 reps of light weight or whatever recovery session you're doing. I just threw that out as an example. But that's training. And if I think about it as training to make me stronger, it's a whole lot easier to swallow. If you're driving to work and you're like, man, I need to learn more bracing. So you're practicing bracing on the way to work. That's training. No matter what you're doing to get stronger and to meet your goals, it is training. Lifters have a very bad habit of compartmentalizing everything. I'll bet if you ask most lifters what they do to get stronger, the very first and possibly the only thing they're going to say, I'll lift weights. I lift heavy. Like, lifting heavy is such a small portion of being an awesome lifter. If you figure out the time, just the time you spend in bed, the time you spend eating, the time you spend stretching, the time you spend reading and researching and learning more about lifting, the actual lifting is a small portion of all that time. So hearing that from Dave was like this huge epiphany to me. And because as I got stronger, I needed more recovery and I could be in the gym less and less, that way of thinking really kind of helped me deal with not being in the gym beating the crap out of myself every night like I normally did. It helped me. It really changed almost my whole thought process and how I looked at strength training in a very positive way. Even to the point where it's funny when people, if you read my column on Elite FTS, which I recommend you do, That's kind of an egotistical thing to say. That's pretty funny. Um, I probably don't write as much about actual training as most people do. I would rather write about technique. I'd rather write about the mental aspects of training. I would rather write about recovery. I'd rather write about sleep. Like the actual training is kind of the easiest part to me. Um, because if you go back to number one, number two, number three, just keep it simple. Like the more you complicate it, the harder it is, and it's not that hard. Like go in. It's really you go in. Your whole concept is to break the muscle down, train the central nervous system. It adapts and recovers, and you're stronger. Like it's not everybody wants to make it complicated, and everybody wants to focus on that. The easiest way to lift more weight is to get better technique. You can lift more weight without even getting stronger if you increase how good your technique is. And of course, there's going to be a point where your technique is going to be really good. But even then, you can only gain strength so fast. So a lot of times, and I've heard Wendler talk about this too, where people will come to him and it's like they're gaining strength and they're doing good, but they want it to be faster. They want it to be more. They want to gain. And it's like you can only gain strength so fast. Like your body only functions so quickly. So if you're, people are like, I only put 100 pounds on my bench press last year. Well, if you're new, that's a possibility. But I don't care who you are. If you put 100 pounds on your bench press in a year, that's awesome. Like, why are you trying to change things up? Like, it's going good. Just keep going like you are. Anyway, yeah, I think that that was another epiphany for me that changed my whole thought process on how I look at strength and how I look at training. And it helped me see training as a whole and not compartmentalizing it. And even to the point of it's part of the evolution of where I'm at now, where like training and life are the same things. You can't, how you deal with your children is going to affect your training. How you deal with your job is going to affect your training. How you deal with your spouse is going to affect your training. And once you start looking at all these things and you see how they're all linked together, you tend to look at training in a different way. You stop compartmentalizing it and you start looking at the whole. You need to see the forest, not the trees. Not to say there's not times where you need to focus on the trees, but seeing the big picture. And this was something that definitely stuck in my mind to this day. It's another one. Honestly, all four of these things, I tell these stories all the time to my clients that I wouldn't be surprised if they get sick of hearing about it. Because I do bring it up. I want them to learn and I want them to understand and I want them to evolve as people as well as lifters. So that's I don't know if you want to call Dave a mentor for me or not. I don't really know. The term mentor, I don't even know if I like the term. But me reaching the level that I did definitely had a big part. Dave had a big part in that happening. I think I would have been strong either way, but without doing that first seminar with Dave and Elite FTS, I don't think I would have ever reached the level that I did. And without the help of Dave, I don't think I would have reached the level that I did. I know Dave will probably be the first person to go, you did all the work, but he, no matter how you look at it, he played a role in this. And that's, now that I'm coaching more, that's the kind of coach I want to be. Maybe that's a better term for Dave, was a coach for me. But even though we didn't ever really work one-on-one that much because of our locations, he had a huge impact on that. And it's funny because as I explained, I wanted to be the one to take all the glory or accept all the failure. Like I don't even care now. I've always said from the beginning, every world record I got, every championship I won, like it wasn't me. It was my team. It was Dave Tate. It was Jim Wendler. It was so many different guys that I learned tips from. It was my team who was back to me. It was, Ethan and Carl and Bailey that traveled with me. It was my family. It wasn't just me. It was a bunch of people behind me that I'm very grateful to. Yeah, it's not, I mean, nobody gets to the top by themselves. That's just the way it is. And that's okay. So that's where, like, even now when I coach and give people tips and stuff, I'm quick to say, hey, this is something I learned from so and so, or I learned this from so and so, you know. And I've been fortunate to have other people say the same thing about me, and I think it all goes around, and a rising tide lifts all ships, basically. It's okay to accept help. It's okay to have had people help you make it to the top. That's a good thing. And then in turn, as you get higher, you can maybe help raise them up as well too. You know, such as some of the guys I learned stuff from, I definitely throw their name out and throw it around, and I'm like, go check them out too. Like, I want everyone to subscribe to my channel and follow my channel, and I want a shit ton of followers. But you know what? The people that I learn stuff from, I want you to follow their channels too. Sometimes I may say something that doesn't make sense, and it may make sense the way they say it. Maybe they do something slightly different, which is a little better for the person and individual that you are. I think there's room for all of us at the top. And anyway, I'm going to let this one go now. I do thank Dave Tate. I thank Elite Fitness. I've been with them guys forever now. I hope to stay with them and stay writing for them and be associated with them. And that's all. Please like the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. Please share the channel. And I'll catch you guys next time with more tips. And I'm out. Time to go eat.